We welcome you to Theosophy Philosophy. It is the fourth course in Integrated Theology, and I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves. Let's dive right in. We're going to continue with the Islamic Golden Age, Part 3. And I'm not going to be able to cover everything in here, so at one point in time, we can discuss these things in theological inquiries. So let's begin. And so we saw in the last couple of lectures that through the Islamic faith, there was what we call the father of early modern medicine. He is called Ibn Sina or Avicenna, and some Avicenna. And so it is the Latinized Avicenna, 980 to 1037. He was a Persian polymath who synthesized and advanced knowledge in medicine, philosophy, astronomy, and logic. He is the one that is believed to have developed the canon of medicine, Al-Kanan fi al-Tib, and it was a 5-volume medical encyclopedia. And so there was also Al-Khwarizm, Al-Khwarizmi. I believe that's the correct pronunciation. He was a father of algebra and algorithms. Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, he lived 780 to 850, the Common Era. He was a Persian mathematic and astronomer who worked at the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. I think it's very interesting that many of the centralized schools were the center for all scholasticism to take place. Therefore, they kept all of the wisdom, all of the knowledge, all of their studies for all of the students who would come after them. And so I find it very interesting that in many cases, there are so many institutions of religion that had institutions of learning that were very serious about using scientia and then philosophizing it and then tying it to theology. And so his foundational work on algebra we can find in his book called Kitab al-Mukassar fi Hisab Jababa. And so his compendious book on calculations by completion and balancing is the source of the work or the word algebra. I don't have time to go through all of this, but it deals with the balancing, just like when you have equations in algebraic formula, you have to balance each side to work the interesting methodology of the mathematics. He also brought forth the birth of algorithm. A second major work of his was the introduction of an entirely new system of calculation to the West. Then, if we go a little further, we come to what we would say, and I'm trying to get my screen together. There was Al-Razi, or Razis, the pioneer of clinical medicine, Abu Bakr al-Rasis. And so he was a Persian polymath, physician, and alchemist who served in the chief physician's place of the main hospital in Baghdad. He brought forth the first clinical differential diagnosis. Al-Razi wrote the seminal medical treatise, Kitab al-Jadari wa al-Hasba, the book on smallpox and measles. And so we see there was quite a bit of things that were being developed as a result of trying to understand science and connecting it to their deity, which at the time, and which still is Allah. And then there was Ibn al-Haytham, or al-Hasin, the father of optics and scientific method. He was an Iraqi mathematician, astronomer, and physicist whose work in optics made him one of the most important scientists in the history of physics. Now, let's continue to keep this in mind. They took their religiosity so serious that they felt it was the obligated duty to learn about science and point it towards their God. He developed the correct theory of vision intromission, what it was called. He famously refuted the prevailing extromission, a theory held by Greek scholars like Plato and Euclid, which posited that the eye emits rays to see an object using physical and geometrical arguments. He proved the intromission theory, which meant that light emanates or is reflected by an object, and then it enters the eye. And we're going to have to keep going so we can get some of the most important things in here. Then there was Al-Razi, empiricism and skeptical philosophy in medicine. His scientific observation brought forth science observation, which led to philosophy, or the philosophic. And then there was the science, theology, and ethics. Al-Razi, his goal of medicine was the alleviation of human suffering, which was a moral and ethical pursuit. His deep focus on medical ethics, like treating rich and poor equally, and his commitment to patients were often framed within a religious context of serving humanity. Then there was Ibn al-Haytham. He had logical proofs and the logical truth of theology. Ibn al-Haytham's greatest contribution was anchoring his scientific inquiries, particularly in optics, with a deep philosophical commitment to truth and certainty, which was a theological imperative for many Muslim scholars. Philosophy and science. Ibn al-Haytham's famously demanded critical inquiry and skepticism toward all received knowledge. He wrote, "The duty of man who investigates the writings of science is to make himself an enemy of all that he reads, and applying his mind to the core and periphery of its meaning, attack it from every side." This philosopher starting point mandated his use of a rigorous, repeatable, and geometric method of experimentation, which was called science, to verify every claim, establishing him as a pioneer of modern science. I think this is all the time we have, and I could go on, but we have to consider the other lectures. And again, this can be some of the information that we can discuss in theological inquiries. I thank you for being with us. This has been Theosci Philosophy, the fourth course of integrated theology, and I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves. God bless you.